Yokoso! Welcome to the first lesson in a series of lessons covering everything you need to know about basic Japanese grammar. We will cover one Japanese grammar point at a time so that we can easily digest the lessons. In this lesson, we will learn about the Japanese sentence word order in comparison to the English sentence word order. First things first, in order to better comprehend this lesson, we must go back to English Grammar 101 since there are some key terms that you will need to know before starting the lesson.
Dang!
I know, not very thrilling, but definitely a must if you want to avoid this from happening to your grammar. Okay, first up we have the subject of a sentence which expresses who or what the sentence is about. The subject is always a noun or a pronoun. In the sentence, John is a teacher, we can find out who or what the subject of the sentence is by asking ourselves, who is a teacher? Well, the sentence states that it is John who is a teacher. Therefore, the subject of our sentence is the noun John. Next, we have a verb, which expresses what the subject does or is. A verb describes an action, a state of being, or occurrence. In the example sentence, he ran, we can find out what the verb is by asking ourselves, what did the subject do? Well, first we must identify the subject of the sentence, which is the pronoun he. Now that we have identified the subject, we see that the sentence also states that an action was taken by that subject, that action being the verb ran, and thus the verb of the sentence has been identified. Finally, we have the object of a sentence, which is a person or a thing that receives the action of the verb. In the sentence, I hit the ball, we can find out what the object of the sentence is by asking ourselves who or what received the action of the verb. Well, first we identify that the verb of our sentence is hit. So then we ask ourselves who or what was hit. Well, the sentence states that the ball was hit. Therefore, ball is the object of our sentence since it received the action of the verb. Okay guys, that's it for English Grammar 101. So, let's get started with the lesson. The very first grammar point you must learn about the Japanese language is that the basic structure of a Japanese sentence is different from the basic structure of an English sentence. In fact, a basic Japanese sentence is quite similar to Yoda's backwards way of speaking. Think of English as Luke and Japanese as Yoda. Luke would say, "It is a cat," while Yoda would say, "Cat, it is." I know, you must be wondering why this is. Let me explain. The reason for this difference is that English is known as an S.V.O language. This simply means that the basic word order of an English sentence starts off with the subject, then the verb, and finally the object of the sentence. So we get the following sentence, I eat apples. Here the order is subject, verb, object. However, Japanese is known as an S.O.V language, meaning that the subject comes first, then the object, and finally the verb. So we get I apples eat. Here the order is subject, object, verb. As you can see, what both languages have in common, besides consisting of a subject, a verb, and an object, is that the subject is placed at the beginning of the sentence. This is usually the case for both English and Japanese sentences. Now let's take a look at some examples of the basic sentence word order for both languages. In this example, we have 私はリンゴを食べます. I eat apples. Watashi means I, and therefore is the subject of our sentence. Ringo means apple or apples, and is the object of our sentence since it receives the action of the verb, that action being the word tabemasu, which means eat. We see that the word order for the Japanese sentence is subject, object, verb, while our English sentence word order is subject, verb, object. Let's take a look at another example so that you become more familiar with this structure. 彼はボールを蹴りました. He kicked the ball. 彼 means he and is the subject of the sentence. Boru means ball and is the object of our sentence. Kerimashita means kicked and is the verb of our sentence. Again, we see that the word order for the Japanese sentence is subject, object, verb, while the word order in the English sentence is subject, verb, object. On another note, you're probably wondering what wa and wo mean. They are particles which I will cover in a future lesson since they require a deeper look. For now, focus on the basic word order of both languages. Okay, now that we have gone over the basic structural differences between the two languages, it's important to note that not every sentence in the English language follows the subject, verb, object structure, such as I eat apples, which we just went over. In fact, there are 4 other types of English sentence structures. Why is this important? Well, these 4 types of sentence structures can also be found in the Japanese language, so it's a good idea to familiarize yourself with these structure types. So let's look at the types one by one. We have the subject-verb structure, which consists only of a subject and a verb. For example, I eat. This type of simple sentence structure can be formed in Japanese as well. Let's take a look. 私は食べます. I eat. This sentence consists only of a subject and a verb. Note that because there isn't an object in this sentence, the word order for both the Japanese and English sentence is the same. Both have the subject at the beginning of the sentence followed by the verb. Next, we have a subject-verb-noun sentence. For example, he is a teacher. Let's look at an example. 彼は教師です. He is a teacher. Once again, we see that there isn't an object in this sentence. Instead, we have a noun. Notice that in the Japanese sentence, the noun is placed in between the subject and the verb, while in the English sentence, the noun goes at the end. This is most often the case in a subject-verb-noun structure. Next, we have a subject-verb-adverb sentence. For example, she sings elegantly. Let's take a look. 彼女は優雅に歌います. She sings elegantly. So here we see that we have a subject-verb-adverb sentence. Now, what is an adverb? An adverb is a word that describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb, and is often used to show time, manner, place, or degree. In this example, the adverb 優雅に is modifying the verb 歌います by coming before it. In the Japanese language, the adverb will almost always come before the thing that it is modifying, whereas in English, the order is reversed. Last but not least, we have a subject-verb-adjective sentence. The cat is cute. Let's take a look. その猫はかわいいです. The cat is cute. So, here we have a sentence made up of a subject, a verb, and an adjective. In the Japanese sentence, we see that the adjective is placed in between the subject and the verb, while in the English sentence, the adjective is placed at the end. Special note, I want you to keep in mind that there are always 2 ways to express something in any language. The same thing is true for the Japanese language. I mention this because I want you to be aware that the Japanese language is as flexible with its sentence structure as English is.